She dropped to her knees in the middle of our living room, tears streaking her mascara, voice cracking, hands clasped together like some pathetic actress begging for a second chance she never earned. Right there, next to the coffee table we bought together in Charleston. Right on the hardwood I laid down with my own hands. She sobbed, "Bill, I'm so sorry. I messed up. Please don't do this." But that's not where this story begins. No, this story begins 2 weeks earlier, when I came home from a work trip a day early, bags in hand, bone-tired, craving a hot shower and my wife's arms. Instead, I opened the front door to the scent of vanilla candles burning in the kitchen, and something else, something faint, sour, off. I remember thinking, she never lights candles unless she's expecting company. I set my suitcase down quietly. The house was too clean. Her car was in the driveway, yet she wasn't downstairs. I heard a thud upstairs, then silence. My first instinct wasn't suspicion. It was confusion, concern. Maybe she slipped? I took the steps 2 at a time. When I pushed open our bedroom door, I froze. The bed was unmade. There were 2 wine glasses on the nightstand, only one empty. Her red dress, the one she only wore on anniversaries, was tossed over the chair. A man's watch, definitely not mine, sat glinting on the dresser. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even breathe for a moment. I just stood there, staring at that damned watch. I picked it up slowly, examined the back. Engraved, to CJ, always L. I didn't know a CJ. I didn't know an L. But my wife sure as hell did. And then I heard the sound that tore something deep in me. A muffled laugh from the bathroom. A man's laugh. The door cracked open just an inch. Enough for me to hear her voice, light and sweet, and soaked in a kind of joy I hadn't heard in years. "You better go before he gets home." He laughed again. "Relax, babe. He's not due back until tomorrow, right?" I stepped back before the door opened, turned down the hall, and walked out. Not a single sound. No confrontation. No drama. I just left the house I'd worked myself half to death to pay for. Got in my car. Drove 10 miles away. Parked at a gas station and stared at the steering wheel for over an hour. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even curse. I just sat there with a calm so deadly it scared me. That night, I slept at a hotel. Didn't call her. Didn't text. Let her think nothing was wrong. Let her keep up the lie. The next morning, I called in sick. Took the day to plan. I canceled her credit cards. Every last one. Even the backup one she didn't know I knew about. I changed the passwords to every shared account. Banking, streaming, insurance, even her damn Starbucks app. Then I started digging. Pulled phone records, emails, GPS data from her car. Traced everything. She'd been seeing this guy, CJ, for 4 months. Hotels. Long lunches. A weekend trip she said was a girl's getaway in Miami. Lies. So many lies. And here's the kicker. She wasn't even subtle. She used my Amex for the hotel. The one I told her never to use. I guess she assumed I'd never check. I waited a week. Watched her. Studied her. Pretended everything was fine. Smiled at dinner. Kissed her goodnight. Listened as she lied straight to my face, night after night. Then, I bought her a plane ticket. One way. To CJ's city, Charlotte. First class. Because I wanted her to think I was doing something nice. I booked it for a Friday. This wasn't going to be some cliché yelling match. I wasn't going to stoop to her level. No, I wanted it clean. Final. Surgical. And on that Friday morning, I handed her the envelope at breakfast. She looked confused. "What's this?" "Open it." She pulled out the itinerary and read it. "Charlotte? Why?" I smiled. "Thought you'd want to see him in person, now that your hotel romps aren't enough." Her fork hit the plate. I stood up, took my coffee to the sink. "By the way, your cards don't work anymore. I canceled them. Also changed the locks an hour ago. So take what you need now, whatever fits in a carry-on." She stammered. "Bill." I cut her off. "Oh, and say goodbye to the joint account. That's gone. And the car? It's in my name. I'll have the repo guy pick it up at the airport. You'll be fine. He'll take care of you, right?" That's what all the texts said. She tried to argue, cry, beg, and yeah, that's when she dropped to her knees. But I just stared at her like she was something I didn't recognize anymore. Something I'd never want to touch again. And when she asked if I was really serious, I just nodded once and said, "Sure." I forgive you. You're free to go. What I didn't say, but knew she'd soon find out, was that by the time her plane landed, she'd be locked out of everything. Her new life? It was already waiting, just not the way she expected. The moment that airplane lifted off the tarmac, I knew she had no idea what was coming. She thought she was stepping into her lover's arms. A new life, a fresh start, a fantasy cooked up between stolen motel sheets and whispered lies over room service wine. She thought she'd outsmarted me, kept the affair neat, hidden beneath makeup and perfume and fake smiles. But Maria was a fool, and I had spent 2 weeks making sure her landing would be anything but soft. I watched her through the glass at the airport, just far enough to not be seen, her head swiveling as she scanned the terminal, probably hoping to spot CJ with a stupid grin and a bouquet. She clutched her purse tight, her only bag now. I made sure the bank accounts froze at exactly 11 a.m., 10 minutes after she cleared security. I timed everything to the minute. She had no working cards, no cash, no ride, and no clue. I didn't wave goodbye. I didn't text. I just turned, walked back to the car, and drove home. To my home, now that she had no legal claim to it. The new locks clicked into place as I stepped through the front door. The silence was beautiful. Everything about that day felt like fresh air after breathing poison for too long. But here's where it gets interesting. I knew she'd try to call, and she did. 24 missed calls by the time her flight landed. I didn't block her. No, I wanted her to watch the read receipts light up without a single reply. I wanted her to feel ignored, abandoned, powerless. And when she called from an unknown number, desperation, I assume, I finally picked up. Bill? Oh my God, thank you. Thank you. I didn't know what else to do. My cards aren't working, my phone's glitching, and You at the airport? I asked calmly. Yes. I thought CJ would be here, but he's not answering, and I just need. He blocked you. Silence. What? I sent him the screenshots, the texts, the photos, all of it. I also sent them to his girlfriend. You didn't know he was engaged, did you? Another silence. She made a strange sound in her throat, like she might throw up. Bill, please, just listen. I made a mistake. I wasn't thinking. I cut her off again. You had 4 months to think. You just didn't think I would ever find out. Her voice turned shrill. Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? I don't care. I ended the call. The next few hours were quiet. Eerily so. I poured a glass of bourbon, turned on some old Johnny Cash, and sat out on the porch, watching the sun dip low. The weight on my chest was still there, but lighter now, shifting. Less like heartbreak, more like the calm that comes right before a storm finishes passing through. But deep down, I knew Maria wasn't done. She was a cornered animal now. No money, no plan, no man, just lies, and the burning humiliation that her life had been ripped out from under her, in front of a stranger-filled airport. That's when the first message came from her sister, Jenna. A text. What the hell did you do to Maria? I laughed. Maria must have spun some sob story. Painted herself as the victim. Poor girl stranded by her abusive husband, probably. That was her style. Always twisting the truth until it looked like a completely different shape. But I was ready, because I had receipts. I sent Jenna a single email, screenshots of Maria's conversations with CJ, pictures, booking confirmations. A voice memo I recorded one night when she thought I was asleep, whispering to him over speakerphone, telling him how stupid I was for never catching on. 10 minutes later, Jenna replied, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I don't know what to say. I didn't respond. What was there to say? I wasn't interested in destroying Maria. I just wanted her out. Out of my life. Out of my house. Out of the illusion we'd both been clinging to. But she wasn't going quietly. Not Maria. Not the woman who could look me in the eye while she lied about where she'd been, who she'd seen, and what she thought about our marriage. No, this was just the beginning. And I could feel it, the storm she was about to unleash. But she didn't realize I'd already built the dam, reinforced it, fortified every crack. She was going to come back swinging, and I was ready to watch her fall again. This time harder. Maria showed up at my front door 3 days later. No warning, no call, no knock. Just the sound of screeching tires and fists pounding the door like it owed her money. I was in the kitchen, pouring coffee. The knock was so violent I thought she'd crack the glass. I took one long sip before walking to the door. Peeked through the peephole. She looked feral. Hair a mess, clothes wrinkled, eyes wild like a raccoon trapped in daylight. She had that same designer purse she'd clutched at the airport, though now it looked more like a life preserver than an accessory. And standing there, barefoot on the front porch, with her makeup half melted and dignity long gone, she looked nothing like the polished woman I'd once married. I opened the door, slowly. "Bill," she hissed, "we need to talk." "No, you need a hotel," I said flatly, and started to close the door. She shoved her foot between the frame and the door like she was in a bad soap opera. "Don't do this. You've made your point. I get it. I messed up. I was stupid. But this? Stranding me, cutting off my money, sending my messages to everyone. What kind of man does that?" I stepped back and crossed my arms. The kind who spent 12 years loving a woman who couldn't stay loyal for 12 weeks. That hit her, right in the gut. Her face twitched like I'd slapped her. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she shouted. It got out of control. I was lonely. You were always working, and I needed something. He was there. I almost laughed. Lonely. The oldest line in the book. As if her boredom justified betrayal. "I was working," I said slowly, "to keep this house. To pay off your car. To build the life you wanted. You were absent. I wasn't absent. I was busy building. You wanted the vacations, the upgrades, the kitchen remodel, the fancy wine subscription. That didn't come from nowhere, Maria." She shifted tactics fast, like she'd rehearsed it in front of a mirror. "I didn't sleep with him," she whispered. I tilted my head. "You sure about that?" A flicker of hesitation. Then, "Okay, I did. Once. Maybe twice." I stared at her, dead in the eyes. 6 times. In 2 different cities. 3 hotel rooms. 1 rental cabin. And I have the receipts, remember? You left them logged into our travel account. Her whole body slumped. The performance drained right out of her. She started crying. Not the soft, remorseful kind. The loud, ugly kind. Wailing into her palms like a kid caught shoplifting. "I have nowhere to go," she sobbed. "I can't stay with Jenna. She's furious. CJ ghosted me. My job? Jesus. They called me in for an ethics review because someone sent anonymous screenshots to HR. I didn't flinch. She stopped crying just long enough to look at me, and for the first time since this whole thing started, she looked scared. "I made a mistake," she said, voice trembling. "But don't throw me away like garbage, Bill. We can fix this. You and me. You still love me, right?" She reached out. Her hand brushed my chest. It was familiar. Too familiar. And for half a second, my brain remembered every Sunday morning in bed, every movie night, every road trip, every version of her I used to love. But that woman was gone, buried beneath the wreckage of her own choices. I looked down at her hand. Then I took a step back. "You know what I realized, Maria?" I said quietly. "You didn't just cheat on me. You replaced me, piece by piece. Emotionally, physically. You built a second life. You gave your laughs, your secrets, your body to someone else. You didn't just make a mistake. You made a decision. Over and over again." She didn't speak. So I did. "And now, I've made mine." I stepped aside. She blinked, confused. For a second, she thought I was letting her in. I nodded toward the porch. "There's a suitcase. It's got the rest of your things. I packed them myself. I didn't burn anything, though God knows you deserved it." She didn't move. I walked forward, leaned in close, and said, "If you're still here when I close this door, I'm calling the cops. You're trespassing." She opened her mouth, some final plea, probably. I didn't wait for it. I closed the door and locked it. Behind me, the kettle screamed. Perfect timing. The next morning, I woke to silence. Not the heavy, suffocating silence I'd gotten used to over the last few years, where 2 people live under one roof but barely acknowledge each other's presence. No, this was clean silence. Peaceful. The kind of silence that doesn't whisper betrayal from the hallway or reek of some stranger's cologne on the bedsheets. I made my coffee in that kitchen she used to pretend to clean. Sat at the table alone. No fake good mornings. No forced small talk over eggs and resentment. Just me, the sun hitting the window blinds, and a hot mug that finally tasted like freedom. By noon, her sister Jenna showed up. She didn't knock like Maria did. She rang the bell once, polite, cautious. I opened the door and saw her standing there with her arms crossed and guilt all over her face. "Bill," she said, "I'm not here to defend her. I just want to understand what the hell happened. She called me this morning from some cheap motel and said you destroyed her." I stepped aside, motioned for her to come in. "Coffee?" She nodded. "Yeah, strong." We sat at the kitchen island. She looked around the house like it was the first time she'd really seen it. The framed pictures of me and Maria were gone. I'd taken them down the night before. Couldn't stand to look at them anymore. "She's a mess," Jenna said, cupping the mug. "Crying, begging me to talk to you. She says you blindsided her." I almost smiled. That's rich, considering she was blindsiding me for 4 months straight. "I know. I saw the screenshots you sent." She looked down. I didn't want to believe it at first. But it's all there. The texts, the hotel receipts, even the audio clip. She paused. "That one really messed me up." "You mean the part where she says I'm too dumb to notice? Or the part where she says being with him makes her feel alive again?" Jenna winced. "Both." We sat in silence for a moment. Then she said, "You could have thrown her out in a million ways. Why like this? Why send her to him?" I leaned back in my chair, looked her dead in the eye. Because she needed to live the life she chased. Not the fantasy version. The real one. The one where the man she thought loved her drops her the second things get messy. The one where nobody's there to clean up her lies. She wanted escape. I gave her the ticket. Jenna swallowed hard. "She's not right in the head, Bill," she said. "She's unraveling." I don't think she thought it would ever come to this. She knew what she was doing. I said, voice sharp. Every text. Every night away. Every time she looked me in the face and told me she loved me while planning her next business trip. She just never thought she'd pay for it. That's all. "She's still my sister," Jenna said quietly. "And as much as I hate what she did to you, I can't just leave her like this." "I'm not asking you to," I said. "But I won't be the one to save her. Not anymore." She nodded slowly, got up, looked around once more before walking toward the door. Then she stopped. She said something else. Jenna added, turning halfway. "She said you weren't even that mad. That you didn't yell, didn't cry, just walked away." I did. "Why?" I took a breath. "Because I'm done bleeding for people who sharpen knives behind my back." She left without saying another word. That night, I found Maria's wedding ring on the front porch, wrapped in tissue, tucked inside a tiny cardboard jewelry box that I recognized from our anniversary 5 years ago. No note. Just the ring. I stood there, staring at it for a long time. I didn't feel relief. Or satisfaction. Not even pain anymore. I felt nothing. And that scared me more than anything she'd ever done. 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number around 2 a.m. I let it ring. I already knew who it was. When the voicemail alert popped up, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the screen in the dark. For a second, I thought about deleting it without listening. But curiosity is a cruel thing. I hit play. It was Maria. Her voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper. "Bill, I'm sorry to call. I know it's late. I can't sleep. I don't know where I am. I mean, I know where, but it doesn't feel real. I thought he'd be there. I thought at least CJ would show up, you know? But he's gone. His number's dead. His Instagram's wiped. I don't know what happened. I don't know where I messed up. Everything feels like a dream I can't wake up from. I keep thinking you'll call and say it's okay, that this was all a mistake and you'll come get me." There was a long pause, then a choked sob. "I'm sorry, Bill. Please. I don't have anyone else." Click. I sat in the dark, phone in my hand, pulse steady. I listened to that message 4 times. Not because I missed her, but because I was trying to feel something. Pity. Hate. Rage. Nothing came. I didn't call her back. That same day, I finally met with a divorce attorney. Her name was Ellen Walker, mid-50s, sharp eyes, sharp voice. She didn't sugarcoat anything, and I liked that. After 30 minutes of laying out the facts, affair, timeline, assets, no kids, she sat back in her leather chair and gave me the kind of look a surgeon gives before cutting out a tumor. "She's not entitled to much," Ellen said. "She committed adultery, and you've documented everything. This will be quick. But if she tries to fight for sympathy or play the mental health angle, it could get noisy. I nodded. I don't care about noise. I care about being free. Ellen leaned in. You are free, Bill. You just don't know it yet. I walked out of that office lighter than I'd felt in months. But freedom has a strange price. Because the minute you start cutting out the rot, you begin noticing how deep the infection went. It wasn't just Maria who failed me. It was me, too. For years, I ignored the signs. The emotional drift. The lies so small they barely echoed. The late nights, the locked phone, the way she stopped laughing at my jokes. I saw it all. I just chose to believe it meant less than it did. There's a certain shame that comes with waking up one day and realizing your whole marriage had become a performance. And worse, that you were the only one still acting like it mattered. I remember sitting on the porch that evening, whiskey in hand, watching the neighbors' sprinklers go off across the street. Same routine, same sounds. But everything in me had changed. I wasn't the man who'd come home early and kissed his wife anymore. I wasn't the fool lying awake in bed, wondering if she was truly working late. I was the man who'd seen behind the curtain and torched it. Then came the twist I didn't expect. That night, my phone buzzed again. A text. Unknown number. You really think you won? You think humiliating me makes you strong? He left me, Bill. I have nothing. But I swear, I'm not going down like this. I read it 3 times. She wasn't apologizing anymore. She was blaming me. Blaming me for exposing her, for refusing to play the role of her safety net, for not catching her when she fell after jumping headfirst into her own mess. That was the moment I knew this wasn't over. She wasn't just broken. She was dangerous. Not in the way of violence, but in the way people get when they realize they've lost control. When the walls are closing in and the last person they thought would fight back has suddenly stopped playing nice. Maria was cornered. And corner people lash out. I deleted the message and locked my doors. The next morning, I woke up to find my name tagged in a Facebook post. It was from Maria. A long, public rant. No photos. Just a wall of text filled with half-truths, twisted versions of what happened, and a few choice lies designed to make me look like the villain. Her audience? A mix of old college friends, distant relatives, and nosy acquaintances who didn't know a damn thing about the reality of our marriage. She wrote about how I blindsided her with divorce papers, how I emotionally neglected her for years, how I humiliated her by leaving her stranded in a city where she knew no one, as if she hadn't booked half her affair rendezvous there herself. She didn't mention CJ, not once. Instead, she painted herself as a victim, said she made a single mistake that I had blown out of proportion, that I'd punished her like a criminal for one night of weakness. One night. That phrase triggered something deep in my gut. A flash of every receipt, every GPS ping, every voicemail, every screenshot I'd collected. 6 different weekends, across 4 cities. One night, my ass. I didn't respond. Not yet. But the damage had begun. Within an hour, I had 3 messages from mutual friends. 2 were neutral, what happened? And, are you okay? One was venomous. Maria's childhood friend, Dana, sent me a full-blown lecture about how men like me ruin women. I screenshotted it, archived it, not for revenge, yet, but to remember exactly how easy it is for people to turn when they don't know the facts. Maria, it seemed, was staging a war. She couldn't get money, couldn't get sympathy from her family. So now she wanted attention, pity, a crowd of online cheerleaders telling her she deserved better. And just like that, my name became a trending topic among people who hadn't called me in years. The final blow came at noon. A call from my boss. Bill, hate to ask, but someone just forwarded me a message. Something your wife posted. Her ex-wife. It's getting passed around. I closed my eyes. What did she say? He sighed. Doesn't matter, really. Just wanted you to know we're standing by you. HR's already seen it, and frankly, it says more about her than you. But I figured you'd want a heads up. I thanked him. Hung up. Then I realized I needed to take the gloves off. She wanted sympathy? I'd give her reality. That night, I sent a message. Not public. Just to a curated list of people who deserved to know the truth. Close friends, family, the people who mattered. I attached a Google Drive folder. No commentary. No insults. Just labeled files. Texts CJ thread. Hotel confirmations. Voice memo, June 3rd. Call logs. Surveillance screenshot, cabin parking lot. I ended the message with one line. I was quiet out of respect, but she's rewriting history. I won't let her turn fiction into fact. Within minutes, the reactions started coming in. Some apologized. Some were stunned. A few had already known, suspected. But most were just silent. And silence, this time, was good enough for me. Because it meant they'd seen the truth. It meant her campaign had backfired. It meant the image of the crying wife abandoned at the airport was now colliding, hard, with the image of a lying woman half-naked in a hotel room with a man she swore was just a friend. By midnight, Maria's Facebook post was gone. Deleted. No explanation. But I noticed something strange. Her account wasn't just cleaned up. It was deactivated. Like she had slammed the laptop shut in panic, realizing the lie had collapsed in public. Like she thought she could disappear for a while and re-emerge when the dust settled. But I wasn't letting this go quietly anymore. She started the fire. I was just making sure it kept her warm. A week later, I got a manila envelope in the mail with no return address. Inside, printed photos. Not old ones. New ones. Grainy, clearly taken on a phone, at a distance, through windows, across parking lots. There were 8 shots total. 3 were of me outside my house. 1 pulling into the driveway, another taking out the trash. 1, disturbingly, from inside a cafe 2 blocks from my office, taken through the front window while I sipped coffee. The other 5? Me and Ellen Walker, my attorney. 1 photo showed us walking out of her office. Another, at a lunch meeting. 2 more from different angles, same cafe. And the last one, zoomed in, blurry, made it look like we were closer than we were, like her hand was brushing mine across the table. It wasn't. But that wasn't the point, was it? Maria had found a new tactic. If she couldn't beat me with lies, she'd try blackmail by illusion. That same day, I got an email from a burner account. No greeting. No signature. Just this. You want to play dirty, Bill? 2 can play. I wonder how your little lawyer friend would feel if her bar license got a tip about inappropriate relationships with clients. You humiliated me. You exiled me. Let's see how you handle a little storm of your own. I didn't reply. I forwarded it straight to Ellen. 5 minutes later, she called. Calm, composed, but with an unmistakable heat behind her words. She's spiraling, Ellen said. We can file a restraining order today. This crosses every line. I didn't hesitate. Do it. That afternoon, we filed. I gave over the envelope, the photos, the email. Ellen's firm prepared statements. Surveillance footage from her building backed us up, clear timestamps, clean angles, multiple witnesses. It wasn't even close. But even as the paperwork moved, something inside me twisted. Because Maria wasn't trying to win anymore. She was trying to burn everything down. She didn't want the house. She didn't want the money. She didn't even want me back. She wanted destruction. And destruction is irrational. Chaotic. It doesn't care who gets hurt in the process. She'd gone from desperate to unhinged. And that's when I realized I wasn't dealing with heartbreak. I was dealing with vengeance. That night, I changed every password again. Set up cameras outside. Installed a new security system. My home felt like a fortress. But I didn't feel safe. Because Maria didn't need to break in to cause damage. She was breaking perception. Warping the truth. Turning the people around me into question marks. The next day, I got a text from an unknown number. You really think you're untouchable just because you've got lawyers? Let's see what your job thinks when they get those photos. Maybe you can explain to HR why your hands are all over your divorce attorney. That was the final line for me. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was going on offense. I met with Ellen and her team again, this time not just about divorce, but about defamation. They were ready. We laid out everything. Her lies. Her attempts at blackmail. The fact that she was actively fabricating a fake affair between me and my own legal counsel to destroy both of us. Ellen tapped her desk. She's playing fire and gasoline games. But what she forgot is that we own the matches now. And just as we began drafting cease and desist letters and filing claims, something happened that none of us expected. Maria went dark. No texts. No burner emails. No posts. Her phone disconnected. Her old email bounced back. It was like she vanished. At first, I thought maybe she'd finally gotten the message. But part of me, maybe the smarter part, knew better. Maria wasn't done. She was just changing tactics. And the worst part? I had no idea what was coming next. 3 days of silence. No emails. No texts. No late-night calls. No drive-by sightings. It should have brought relief. Peace. Closure, maybe. Instead, it felt like standing in the eye of a hurricane. Still, quiet, suffocating, knowing the second half was coming, and it would be worse than the first. Then, Thursday morning, I got a call from Ellen. Not her office. Her personal number. Her voice was different this time. Controlled, but tense. Bill, there's something you need to see. It's not from Maria. At least not directly. But it stinks of her. 10 minutes later, she emailed me a file. It was a screenshot of a Reddit post. r/divorce support. Anonymous account, 2 days old. The title? My husband's lawyer is sleeping with him. What can I do if it's affecting my case? I didn't even have to open the full post to know. It was all there. Veiled accusations, dates, timelines intentionally tweaked to match my meetings with Ellen, quotes twisted just enough to sound believable. No names, of course. Just enough plausible deniability for Maria to pretend it wasn't her. But the comment section? It was a wildfire. People ripping into the husband for being a manipulative narcissist. Others calling the lawyer disgusting, unethical, demanding someone report her to the bar association. Some even bragged about already doing it. And that's when it hit me. Maria didn't need to tell the world who I was. She just needed to light the match and let the internet do the rest. A few hours later, Ellen called again. This time, less composed. I just got an email from the ethics board, she said. An anonymous tip came in. Attached that Reddit thread. They're required to open an inquiry. My stomach dropped. It won't stick, she added quickly. They've seen this before. But Bill, she's playing a longer game. She's not after money. She's not trying to save her reputation. She wants you to bleed. I sat in silence. Not because I was shocked. Because I realized she wasn't acting out of grief anymore. She was acting out of hatred. And hatred doesn't care about truth. It doesn't care about evidence or decency or how many years we spent building a life together. Hatred only cares about impact. Maria wanted to poison my world. One drop at a time. I spent the rest of the day in damage control mode. I called my company's legal department. Told them what was coming, just in case Maria tried to spin another lie. I updated Ellen's firm with every scrap of documentation, every call log, message, timestamp, location. And by 8 p.m., I had a folder labeled Defense, Maria, with over 100 files. Evidence of her stalking, her lies, her smear campaign, her meltdown. But no matter how prepared I got, I couldn't shake the thought. She had nothing to lose now. And people with nothing to lose are the ones who take the gloves off. At 11 p.m., my doorbell rang. I looked at the camera feed. A man in a hoodie, mid-30s, hands in his pockets, standing too close to the door. I didn't open it. I spoke through the speaker. Can I help you? He looked up, surprised. Then, without a word, he turned and walked away. I watched him cross the street, get into a car I didn't recognize. No plates on the front. He didn't speed off, just drove. I saved the footage. Didn't sleep that night. Didn't dare to. Because for the first time since this all started, I wasn't just dealing with a scorned ex-wife. I was dealing with something far uglier. A woman who had burned her bridges and now wanted to torch mine, too. The next morning, I walked out to my car and stopped cold. Someone had keyed the driver's side door. Deep. Deliberate. Not just a random act of vandalism. No, this was personal. For letters, etched in ugly, jagged strokes. Liar. I didn't breathe for a full 10 seconds. It wasn't about the paint. It was the message. She was escalating again. I checked the cameras. Nothing. Black spots in the recording. Exactly where the vandalism happened. Someone had jammed the signal. Or covered the lens. Either way, whoever did it knew what they were doing. I spent the next hour filing a police report I knew would go nowhere. I wasn't naive. Nobody gets arrested over scratched metal. But it wasn't about justice. It was about building a case. A trail. A paper wall strong enough to hold when the next storm hit, which it would. Soon. By noon, Ellen called again. Bad news, she said. They've opened a formal inquiry. The ethics board. I didn't speak. She added, it's not criminal, just procedural, but it means I'll have to step back until it's resolved. I'm referring you to another attorney. He's solid. Knows the case already. I didn't blame her. Maria got what she wanted. My lawyer, my one ally, taken off the board. I hung up and just sat there. Nothing moved. The clock ticked. It felt like losing ground on a battlefield I'd already bled across. That afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. Not a threat. Not a message. Just a video. I hesitated, thumb hovering. Then I hit play. It was grainy, low-res, filmed through blinds. Me, 2 weeks ago, in my living room. Walking in with a six-pack. Sitting down. Watching TV. 30 seconds of absolutely nothing. But the implication? Crystal clear. She'd been watching me. Inside the house. I scanned every wall, every corner, every vent. Called a friend from security installations and begged him to sweep the place top to bottom. He found 2 hidden devices. One in the hallway smoke detector. Another behind the frame of the photo in the living room. One we took in New Orleans 4 years ago. Smiling. Drunk on each other. Now repurposed to watch me fall apart. I threw up in the sink. That was the moment. That moment, I stopped feeling betrayed. Betrayal implies pain. Sadness. Loss. This wasn't that anymore. This was warfare. She wasn't grieving. She wasn't trying to salvage anything. She wanted control. Even now. Even after I took back the keys, the house, the finances, the future. She wanted to crawl inside my walls and rot everything I touched. And somewhere in her broken, venomous mind, she believed I deserved it. I didn't call the cops. Not yet. I documented. Photographed. Archived. All of it. Then I made a list. Names. Events. Patterns. I needed to know who was helping her. Because Maria was many things. Vindictive, unstable, cruel. But she wasn't tech-savvy. She didn't know how to block cameras or plant surveillance. But someone did. That night, I went through every mutual friend we had. Every party guest. Oh, he's just an old coworker. Every shadow she ever pulled into our lives. And one name kept coming up. Nate. CJ's old roommate. Maria said he was cool, helped them plan trips. He ran some kind of IT service. Showed up at our house once to help install Wi-Fi when I was out of town. I'd forgotten all about him. Until now. I searched him online. Found a business listing. Called from a burner app. No answer. I left a message. I know what you did. Call me back. And maybe this doesn't go to the police. No reply. By midnight, I was done playing defense. I opened a fresh document on my laptop. Titled it, The Fall of Maria D. And I started typing. Because if she wanted to keep pushing, then she'd finally see what happens when the man she thought was weak decides he's done being merciful. I didn't sleep. Not a minute. Just sat at my desk, lit by the pale glow of the monitor, typing line after line of everything she'd done. Every lie, every receipt, every recording, every piece of the twisted puzzle she thought she could scatter and bury. It wasn't a diary. It wasn't therapy. It was ammunition. I documented the king, the hidden cameras, the Reddit smear campaign, the burner texts, the voicemail, the illegal surveillance. I timestamped everything, attached photos, screen captures, metadata. I wasn't writing a story anymore. I was building a case. And when the sun finally rose, blood red through the blinds, I felt something I hadn't felt since the beginning of this nightmare. Clarity. Because the truth wasn't enough. Not anymore. Not when lies spread faster. Louder. More dramatically. Maria had figured that out before I did, weaponizing chaos while I was still clinging to dignity. That stopped today. I was going to beat her at her own game. Not with rumors. Not with rage. With facts. Cold, clinical, devastating facts. By 10 a.m., I had a full dossier. I sent copies to 3 places. My new lawyer, Ellen, off the record, and a digital vault with a dead man switch. If anything happened to me, if my brakes failed, if someone randomly mugged me, if my laptop mysteriously fried, the files would go public. Every single one. I made damn sure of it. But then came the real twist. Around 1 p.m., I got a call. Blocked number. I answered, ready for another game. But it wasn't Maria. It was her father. I hadn't spoken to Richard in 2 years. A proud, sharp man with a spine of steel and eyes that didn't miss much. He'd always treated me well. Even hugged me at our wedding, told me I was the first man he trusted with his daughter. His voice on the phone wasn't angry. It was exhausted. "Bill," he said, "I need 5 minutes. No yelling. No drama. Just let me talk." I sat down. "You've got it." He let out a long breath. "I just got off a call with Jenna. She told me everything. Not just the affair. Everything Maria's done since. The stalking. The posts. The photos. The lawyer thing. Jesus Christ." I didn't interrupt. I knew she was spiraling, but I didn't know it was this deep. And I'm not calling to excuse her. I'm calling because she's gone. My heart stopped. Gone. She checked out of the motel last night. Left a note. Said she was going to restart somewhere else. No address. No contact. Her phone's dead. Credit cards are quiet. A cold wave moved through my chest. "You think she's—" I couldn't even finish the sentence. "No. She's not the type. She's too proud to disappear without a final blow. That's what worries me." I closed my eyes. He continued. "I'm not asking for mercy, Bill. You owe her nothing. But if she reaches out, calls, shows up, just tell me. Please. I'll handle her. I swear on my life. I'll keep her away from you." I nodded, not for him, but for myself. "If she reaches out, you'll be the first to know." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said something I didn't expect. "I failed as a father." I stayed silent. I knew something was broken in her years ago. I ignored it. Thought it would pass. I should have done something. Should have gotten her help. Still, I said nothing. Because I didn't have it in me to comfort the man who raised the woman trying to destroy me. He didn't ask for it either. He hung up soon after. And as I sat there, staring at the empty screen, something in me shifted again. The rage? Still there. But underneath it, something colder. Resolve. Maria wasn't done. But neither was I. And now? Now I wasn't just surviving her chaos. I was outlining it. It was Sunday evening when the final piece fell into place. I'd spent the whole day combing through messages, pulling screenshots, tying every thread into one timeline that laid Maria bare. Not just the affair, but the pattern. The months of gaslighting, the second phone I'd discovered under a false name, the Airbnb stays she claimed were solo yoga retreats, and now the surveillance, the slander, the attempt to ruin 2 careers because hers collapsed under the weight of her own lies. And then boom, a file landed in my inbox from an old contact. Jason, IT guy. Used to help me with back-end setups back when I ran a side business. He owed me a favor. I'd sent him Nate's name. Maria's little tech helper. Told him to dig, discreetly. No details. Just find out if this guy's touched any surveillance contracts recently. Bonus if it's in my zip code. What Jason sent back made my skin crawl. Nate's name was on 2 device orders. Shipped to my street. Signed under a fake last name, Devereaux. Maria's maiden name. 2 weeks before I found the camera in the hallway. One of the devices was a Wi-Fi-enabled nanny cam. The other? A motion sensor recorder disguised inside a smoke detector. Both routed their feeds through a masked IP address. Guess who owned the IP? CJ's old office account. His office. The one he left after Maria's meltdown. Only, turns out he didn't leave. He was pushed out after someone leaked footage of him with a married client at a conference hotel. Guess who the married client was? Yeah, Maria. It all snapped together like glass under pressure. Maria didn't just ruin my life. She torched his, too. She burned the affair down from both ends, mine and his, and now, homeless and untouchable, she was circling like a wounded animal looking for a new target. And she'd landed back on me. I stared at the monitor for what felt like an hour, letting the full weight of it sink in. I had her. Not just in pieces. I had the whole thing. A complete map of her self-made implosion, connected by names, receipts, IPs, footage, and lies. I could bury her with it. Legally. Publicly. Permanently. But here's the part that shook me. I didn't want it anymore. Not like I thought I would. Because what stood before me wasn't a woman. It wasn't even an enemy. It was wreckage. A human being so twisted by impulse, control, shame, and vengeance that there was nothing left to punish. No lesson she'd learn. No reckoning that would stick. Just a walking fuse, looking for more matches. The worst part? I don't think she ever loved anyone. Not really. Not CJ. Not me. Maybe not even herself. She loved leverage. And once she ran out, she unraveled. At 3 a.m., I emailed everything to my lawyer. Subject line, insurance. In case she comes back. He replied within 10 minutes. This is more than enough to file charges. You sure you want to wait? I stared at that line. Am I sure? I didn't reply. Instead, I walked outside, barefoot, cool concrete under my feet. The street was empty. Still, my car sat in the driveway, newly repaired, clean. The cameras blinked calmly above the porch. Everything looked quiet. But I knew better. This wasn't over. Not until she made her final move. And God help her when she did. She came back on a Tuesday. Not with flowers. Not with tears. Not with an apology or a lawyer. She came back with a camera crew. I was working from home, late morning, 2 Zoom calls deep, when I saw a white van pull up across the street. At first, I thought it was delivery. Then the side doors opened and 3 people stepped out. One held a shoulder rig. Another had a boom mic. The third? A smug-looking woman in a power blazer holding a clipboard. And right behind them, in oversized sunglasses and a black trench coat like she was auditioning for Dateline, was Maria. I stood frozen by the window, watching them cross my lawn like they had the right. The doorbell rang. Firm. Intentional. Followed by the sound of someone testing the doorknob. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the camera app on my phone. Hit record. Every second. Every angle. Then I called my lawyer. He picked up instantly. It's happening? She brought media, I said. Local, I think. Tabloid. No one big. Trying to bait me. Do not engage, he said. Document. We're ready. Outside, Maria turned to the camera and started talking. I couldn't hear the audio, but I didn't need to. Her hands were moving dramatically. She gestured toward the house, then pulled something from her coat, a printed photo. Probably of me and Ellen walking out of a diner 6 weeks ago. The host nodded like she'd been fed a script. I saw my neighbor, Tom, poke his head out from behind a curtain. Another neighbor stood by his driveway, arms folded. Maria was putting on a show. Except this time, the audience wasn't clapping. They were watching with their jaws half open. After 5 minutes of footage, fake tears, and gesturing to the house like I was holding hostages in the attic, she looked directly into the camera and said something I finally could hear. He locked me out of my home. Took everything. And now he's trying to ruin my life to hide his own affair. With his lawyer. I'm not staying silent anymore. That was her line. Her final card. I smiled. Because she didn't know what I'd already done. I opened my laptop, opened the press release my lawyer's firm had drafted 3 weeks ago, just in case. Every detail. Chronological. Verifiable. Attached were documents, surveillance logs, video stills, receipts, audio clips, court filings. We sent it to the same outlet she brought to my front lawn. Not anonymously. Not spitefully. Just professionally. Truthfully. 10 minutes later, the producer got a text. She read it. Showed it to the host. The host looked from her screen to Maria, then slowly took a step back. The cameraman lowered his rig. The boom mic dropped. Maria looked around, confused. She walked up to the producer, snatched the phone from her hand, and read whatever was on it. I saw the exact second her mouth tightened. Her whole face dropped, like the oxygen had left her blood. They didn't even finish the segment. No confrontation. No questions. They turned, packed up, and walked back to the van without a word. Maria followed, still talking, still trying to pitch something. But no one was filming. No one was nodding. The van door slammed. And then for the first time since this whole hell started. Silence. She stood there alone on the sidewalk, fists clenched, jaw shaking. Her eyes locked on the camera over my door. For 10 seconds, she stared straight into it. I watched her chest rise and fall like a boxer after the 10th round, realizing they'd lost. Then she walked away. Not rushed, not crying, just finished. And I knew that was the last move. She had nothing left. No cards. No backup. No audience. Just herself. And the wreckage she'd made. That night, I poured a drink. Sat on the porch. Same chair. Same bourbon. Same sky. Only this time, I wasn't watching my world fall apart. I was watching it rebuild, brick by brick. And I didn't need a crowd. I didn't need an apology. I didn't even need closure. I'd already won. She just hadn't realized it until now.